Hey, I'm Nimish. I'm the founder of FiveSmart and I've created more than 15 apps using just AI in the last 6 months and they have got more than 1,000 users for them. And in this video, I'm going to cover the 9 biggest mistakes that I see people making with AI coding tools and especially the beginners and how you can avoid them. If you know me, you know that I am a big supporter of the fact that you can only learn certain things by doing it. And same stands for coding with AI or any new thing that comes into the world. You can also find this on the cover image of my YouTube channel. But again, coming on to the fact why I think you need to avoid these 9 mistakes, because over the last couple of months, I've received so many texts from people that this got stuck at some point of time and then their entire experience with using these AI coding tools became very bitter. That's why I would want to just put out these 9 things upfront. If you pick them up at the start itself, then the entire journey from here becomes easier for you. Starting with the first one on the list, not picking the right tools. And this have parts to it. You have to select the coding tool that you're using and the model that you're using within it. And both of them are equally important. When I talk about coding tools, the coding tools majorly have two functions over here. Either you can use them for creating a full stack app, something that you would sell as a SaaS, or you can use it to create functional MVPs. These are more for testing your ideas. For creating a full stack app, there are two tools that are really good at this: Windsurf and Cursor. Windsurf is more beginner friendly. So if you are just starting out, use Windsurf. And if you are someone who knows the basics and know how the code works, then go with Cursor. Then talking about the second branch of things, creating functional MVPs. For creating functional MVPs, all four of these tools are pretty much the same: Lovable, Bolt, V0, and Replit. There are minor differences here and there. If you're trying to create a model looking landing page, then Lovable is the best bet for you. Bolt is really good for creating micro SaaS because it has very powerful integrations with Superbase and with Stripe. Then with V0, creating consistent product elements is really easy. Plus, it also has really good integrations. It has over 9 direct integrations that make it highest on the list. And lastly, Replit is very good at one-shotting task. So if you want to create something really quick, use Replit for that. That is about all four of them. The pricing is almost the same. I think it's $20 for the first three, and then Replit is $25. Now coming on to the second thing, you would need models for two major things. One is planning out the entire project, that what are the files that need to be created within your project, what are the minor implementation details, and second is actual coding. So this would come in handy when you are using tools like Windsurf and Cursor, where you get an option to select your model. Within Lovable, Bolt, V0, they all use default models based on your request, so you won't have to do it. But this is a handy tip if you are using Windsurf or Cursor. For planning your project, deep reasoning models like O1, O3 Mini, and even O4 now are really helpful. You can also use Gemini 2.5 Pro here because it's on a free tier right now. For actual coding tasks, Sonnet 3.5 and Gemini 2.5 Pro are really nice. They are the best models for writing the actual code. But make sure that you create a plan first and then you use these models for writing the actual code. So, this is all about the first step here. Now, talking about the second one, not choosing the right tech stack. A lot of people that I see, they use any tech stack that ChatGPT recommends them, or maybe they go to Perplexity and ask what is the right tech stack for it, and it gives them some libraries and they use it blindly. But what it is important over here is that you use a tech stack that AI is good with, and AI is good with tech stacks that have expensive documentation around it. Doing hit and trial, I've figured out that this is the best tech stack if you are creating anything using AI coding tools. Now, talking about the front end, use Next.js or White for this. Next.js if you are creating anything within Cursor or Windsurf, and use White if you are creating anything within Lovable or Bolt. The first preference should always be Next.js because it has better support for SEO. White is good for creating MVPs, but it is not for creating a full SaaS. Second is database. You have two options over here, Superbase and Firebase. Both of them are equally good at this. If you are looking for a solution that is easier to work with, then go with Superbase. But if you want a better free plan, then Firebase is a better option. But both of them are very similar in their feature sets. Now talking about the third one, authentication. So these are for letting your users sign in or sign up on your app. For this, I use Clerk.dev. It is the best one out of the three, but you can also use Supabase and Firebase for this. Clerk Dev has the best free plan out of these three. Now coming on to building AI features. Now every app that you see these days has some portion of AI features included into it. And for doing that, you can use three major APIs. The first one is the OpenAI's API, the second one is Claude, and the third one is Gemini. OpenAI is the best one out of these three because its documentation is very easy to understand. Plus, if you go on OpenAI's website, so if I open their documentation, you will see that it's very easy to feed that documentation to any AI agent. You just come on their website, you find that what you're trying to build. Let's say if I'm trying to build a web search agent, then I can just copy this entire page with a single click of a button and I can drop this in any app builder that I'm using. For example, if I'm using Windsurf for creating a tool, then I can directly just jump onto Windsurf and you can just simply drop the entire page that you copied in the chat here and it will know how to implement it. Now, coming back onto the list and going to the third mistake that people make. The third one is not doing the right planning for your project. When you're creating anything with AI, it's very important that you define all the guardrails or what are the constraints at the start itself because AI hallucinates a lot. So if you give it some instruction, it will give you three different outputs every time. But if you define these guardrails that this is my tech stack, this is how the user flow would be, and these are all the pages that needs to be there, all the buttons. So its hallucinations would be very much controlled because now it knows that what are the guardrails between which it has to operate. Now within planning, there are two major things you have to do to make sure that your AI does not hallucinate. The first one is defining all of these constraints at the start. The three major constraints is tech stack, the user flow, and the core functionalities that you want within your app. Try to limit it to three at once. If you want more functionalities, then you can just keep on repeating this step where you create a plan for your AI agent and you give it to it again and again. Rather than stuffing all those functionalities in one plan, just use multiple plans every time and build it step by step. The second thing is creating a PRD with this entire plan. So if you would have watched some of my other videos, there you will see me using this document where you will see me creating a PRD or a product requirement document. I ask it to give me a step-by-step plan for implementation that should include every step and all the relevant documentation. Also mention my tech stack in all of these documents. And I also describe the app idea and what is the expected user flow within that and all those details. You can also find it from the description here, or if you want a detailed video on this, you can check out this other video. But coming back on the 9 mistakes, now moving on to the fourth one, not keeping reference docs for AI. So this is the extension of the last part itself. When you create a plan for your AI, it's important that you also give this as a reference for your agent. So this is an example of the output that you get when you put in these prompts for creating these PRDs. So what you have to do is you have to get this entire documentation from here and you have to use this as a reference for your project. You can create a new file within your project itself with the plan that AI gave you and make sure that when you are implementing any part, you keep on making changes in this document itself so that it knows that what are all the implementation details and which steps are covered. Creating this reference plan and updating it with every step are equally important. Now moving on to the fifth one, not building your app step by step. If you stuff a lot of details at once, the AI would get confused. So that's why it's important that you do things step by step. Let me show you what I mean by that. LLMs are bound by their context limit. They cannot remember a lot. They have a limited context window of 1 million tokens. If you let AI plan everything, it would mess up. That's why it's important that you break it down into certain chunks and you have to plan out your entire project in multiple phases. For an example, if you're trying to create a image generation app, so try to create the core functionality at first, then work on things like improving the UI or adding a backend to it. It's important that you do it into multiple phases rather than doing all at once, and that way you can easily create a project using AI. Now coming on to the next one, which is the sixth one out of this list, not using the right AI models. We went through it in the first pointer itself, but let me go through it in more detail here. So we talked about that we have to use certain AI models when we are planning out a project and we are writing the code. But there are two other things for which you would also have to use AI models, and that is for debugging. Debugging is a major part of creating any app, and not just with AI. Even when you are coding anything without AI, debugging is a major part of it. And what's important here is that you use a AI model that has a big context window, because you would have to stuff in a lot of files that are related to that error. For this, O3 Mini and Gemini 2.5 Pro are really good. And lastly, for improving the UI and the website copy. This is usually the last step you do when you are trying to perfect your MVP. So for this, Sonnet 3.7 works really well for creating the UI and improving the website copy of it. Now coming on to the seventh one, not using boilerplates or starter kits for creating your project. To start your project with a blank screen is also very daunting and not the smartest thing to do. What you can do instead, start with AI app builders like Bolt and Lovable and create the first version from there. Almost all of these app builders have an option to export your projects. If you go on Lovable, you get this project to move your repository to GitHub, from where you can export it to a local storage, or you can use this within Windsurf or Cursor if you want to make further changes into it. Another thing that you can do over here is you can use starter kits directly in Cursor and Windsurf. Starter kits are basically boilerplates that have certain functionalities already implemented within them. Two of the boilerplates that are really nice for this is you can use Riley's boilerplate over here. Riley Brown is a creator who created this starter kit almost half a year back. And this is perfect if you would want to create an app that works on Next.js 14, has Tailwind, and you are using Firebase as your auth storage and database. It also has Vercel's AI SDK implemented into it. That's why integrating OpenAI Anthropic Replicate is very easy with this. And second boilerplate that you can use over here is called OpenSaaS. It's an open source boilerplate and it comes with everything including payments, AI features, Tailwind and a database. Now moving on to the eighth point on the list. Not doing systematic debugging. Debugging is a major part of creating your app, and this is the point where 90% of the people lose it and they stop creating their own app. And honestly, debugging is actually hard, but there are four things that you can do to do it in the right way and not waste your entire day and doing this part. Understand the context limit and choose the model, something that we even discussed earlier. Try to use a model that has a bigger context limit. Or if you are using a model with a smaller context limit, try to compress things that might be consuming a lot of tokens. The second thing is using chat mode. This is now standard functionalities in most of the AI app builders. If you come on Lovable over here, you see this chat mode down here. You can turn it on while you are debugging so that it does not directly start editing your files and just focus on finding the core issue. You can also find this in other app builders. You also have this functionality within Windsurf and also Cursor. The third one is using chain of thought reasoning. This is already a standard thing in reasoning model, but if you are using any model like 3.7, over here just mentioning that you should think step by step and then come up with the final analysis, that really helps in diverting this model in the right direction. And lastly, something that you don't expect to work out, but it works really well, is exporting all the context from whichever app builder you're building in and using it with a different model. For this, you can use a command called npx repomix. Let me show you how this works. So if I come on my project and I put in this command called npx repomix, this would use a library for converting my entire code base into a single file. So this generated this file called npx repomix. This would have context of all the files within my code base. And if I'm facing an error, what I will do is I will copy this entire file from here and I will use this with a model that has a higher context limit. So what I will do is I will go to aistudio.google.com. Over here, you can use all the AI models from Google, and I will select Gemini 2.5 Pro here. Over here, I will paste the entire context that I just copied. And when I paste this here, then you will also see that how many tokens this is consuming. This is 36,000 tokens long already. And along with this, I will paste the entire error here, and I will ask it to give me steps that I can use for debugging this or fixing this error. And then I will just go back on Windsurf and implement these changes. And with this, I will come on to the last pointer of the list. And you already know this. And this is quitting too early. A lot of people do it. The thing is that if you are trying to create any app with AI, your first 5 apps will suck. And even if you are creating a new app, things would get difficult after the first 10 or 15 prompts. And that is when you would have to persevere and keep on trying to create it. And this type of development, creating apps using AI, is gonna become the norm 5 years or 3 years down the line. And by then, everyone would be creating full stack apps, production ready apps using these tools. But if you get into it right now and if you understand that how to use them properly, this would put you in front of the line. And it might feel that everyone is doing this right now, but this bunch of people, you guys who are watching these videos over here and trying to do this, you are among the 1% of the people who are building these apps and trying to do something new out of it. So keep on doing it, keep on creating those apps. Even I am on the same journey. I might be a couple of steps ahead, but there is a long way to go. And I want the same thing for you guys, that you are also able to turn your ideas into real apps and get customers for it. That's all for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.